How about it, George?
Okay. Well,
What
yeah,
are we
just let
looking
us
at here, by
know.
the way?
Well, this is sent to us from a binge team member. I could not tell you who they really are because on Telegram, everybody has a weird name, and so matching up real names, real email addresses, I just don't even try anymore. But this is from a binge team member. This is the Arctic Circle in Alaska, and it is at 12:41 a.m. So almost 1 a.m. in the morning. And here we see that sun just peeking over the horizon saying, I don't know if it's saying good morning or good night, to be honest. So maybe it's just saying hello. And thank you for that. It was it's great to see another part of the world that I have yet to see, and I have not yet been to Alaska, and I plan to get there at some point. But there are a few other states that I want to get to before that. So I just want to say thank you for everybody that showed up for the Cincinnati meetup. There are a couple people missing from this, but this is Cincinnati from Kentucky, looking to the city. And if you can see right over here, that's where the baseball stadium was, over here, I guess, where we went and saw a game. It was a great meetup, and thank you for everybody that's showing up. Next one is Palm Springs, and that's in November because I'm going to be traveling with my husband. So we are going to get to scams, hacks, and breaches. The first one, this was sent in to me by a user this morning, so I decided to include it. But 2.9 billion hits in one of the largest breaches ever. Full names, addresses, and social security is exposed. Come on, people. Like, what is going on? So, regardless of how careful you are online, your personal data can still end up in the hands of hackers. And a new data breach that exposed 2.9 billion, did I say millions up there? I meant 2.9 billion people, is the perfect example of this. As reported by Bloomberg News, of this massive new data breach was revealed as part of the class action lawsuit filed at the beginning of this month. A complaint submitted by the U.S. District Court, Southern District of Florida, claims the exposed personal data belonging to public records data provider named National Public Data, which specializes in background checks and fraud prevention. The personal data of 2.9 billion people, which includes full names, former complete addresses going back 30 years, social security numbers, and more, was stolen from the national public data by a cyber criminal group that goes by the name of USDOD. The complaint goes on to explain that the hackers then tried to sell this huge collection of personal data on the dark web to the tune of $3.5 million. Wow, that is a big one. So if you start to get solicitations, just know that I'm probably part of this 2.9 billion, and so are you. So we have FBI issue warnings about scammers impersonating crypto exchanges. It seems like the scammers are now impersonating just about everyone. Maybe they'll impersonate our fathers, our grandfathers, and try to get in that way. But the United States FBI has issued a warning about scammers pretending to be affiliated with crypto exchanges to steal users' funds. According to the FBI, scammers are conducting their targets through calls or messages and presenting themselves as employees of a crypto exchange. Remember, this is not part of the article, but if someone from a crypto exchange tries to contact you, 99.999% of the time, it's going to be BS. Do not believe. Hang up the phone, call them directly. Do not get a phone number from the person who called because they're just going to give you a bad number. The article goes on. The scammers claim there is a problem with the user's account and that someone is attempting to compromise it. The malicious actor often tries to rattle the potential victims and convey that the user must urgently act to protect their accounts. Remember that. I keep saying it. When someone says you need to urgently do this, sit back, relax, think about it, don't react. At that point, the scammers try to get users to provide access codes, click on a link, or provide identification information. This would allow the scammers to access the user's account and steal their digital assets. So just be careful and don't fall for anything like this. Fake AI editor ads on Facebook push password stealing malware. Here we go again. A Facebook malvertising campaign targets users searching for AI image editing tools and steals their credentials by tricking them into installing fake apps that mimic legitimate software. That's where it's hard, where you believe you're installing the correct one, but don't click on anything on a social media site. Go directly to the website and you'll make sure that you get the correct app. The attackers exploit the popularity of AI-driven image generation tools by creating malicious websites that closely resemble legitimate services and trick potential victims into infecting themselves with information stealer malware, as Trend Micro researchers have noted. So we have a new Android malware. Sorry, this is like all bad news for the first part of the show, but the new Android malware wipes your device after draining bank accounts. A new Android malware that researchers call Bingo Mod can wipe devices after successfully stealing money from the victim's bank accounts using an on-device fraud technique. Kind of scary thought. Promoted through text messages, the malware poses as a legitimate mobile security tool that can steal up to 15,000 euro per transaction. According to the researchers analyzing it, Bingo Mod is currently under active development, with its author focusing on adding code obfuscation to various evasive mechanisms to drop detection rates. In one instance, the malware uses an icon for the free AVG antivirus and security tool available in the Google Play Store. During the installation routine, the malware requests permission to use accessible services which provide added features that allow extensive control of the device. Once active, Bingo Mod steals any login credentials, takes screenshots, and intercepts SMS messages. To perform the on-device fraud, or ODF, the malware establishes a socket-based channel to receive commands and an HTTP-based channel to send feed screenshots, enabling almost real-time remote operation. That basically means when you have this malware installed, they can do in real time, they can take a screenshot of your login credentials at your bank or anything else that's on your phone. So be really careful if you're an Android user. Don't get this on your phone. Google Ads push fake Google Authenticator site stealing malware. Google has fallen victim to its own ad platform, allowing threat actors to create fake Google Authenticator ads to push the Dear Stealer information stealing malware. For years, malicious advertising, or malvertising, campaigns have targeted Google search platforms where the actors place ads to impersonate well-known software sites that install malware on a visitor's device. To make matters worse, threat actors have been able to create a Google search ad that shows legitimate domains, which adds the sense of trust to the advertisement. In the new malware campaign found by Malwarebytes, threat actors created ads that displayed an advertisement for Google Authenticator, right down here, and when users search for the software in Google search, what makes the ad more convincing as it shows google.com and https google.com as the click-through URL, which clearly should not be allowed when a third party creates advertisements. So again, be careful of what you're putting on your devices. Now we're going to get into crypto news. And this is, sure, this is a headline, but this is really this is going to be a teaching session. So give me a couple minutes on this because of somebody posted something on last week's live stream. But Lloyd's of London backed insurance policies can now be paid for in crypto on Ethereum. Wow, that's great news. So let's make sure that that's real because there's a lot of fake news out there. So I'm coming to find. So Lloyd's of London. Okay, so we're going to go to Lloyd's of London news page. Okay, yeah, July 11th, well, we're already in August, is the last piece of news. So let's go back to this article. Are we sure this is true? Now, this is, coming from CoinDesk. It's semi-reputable. But what does this really mean? Well, let's go and look at the partnership. Evertess, okay, whatever that, I've never heard of them, but maybe they have some real information. So we're going to go to their news site. And oh yeah, here we go. CoinDesk, Lloyd's of London, they have put it on their website. And as long as Evertess, or however you say it, is a legitimate site, and it looks like it's been around, and you can do some quick searches to know that it is a good site, then yeah, that article is legit. Now, let me show you an article that's not legit. And we had someone post this last week. And, it's about crypto. It's from a site called crypto-news-flash.com. And I was reading through and I'm like, I don't think this is true. It leads back to this article. And this article says, JP Morgan to accept XRP for credit card and mortgage payments. I'm like, that's huge. And why does Crypto News Flash, why are they the only one that is reporting this. So when you do a search for JP Morgan to accept XRP for credit card, every one of these goes back, Binance, shame on you, goes back to reference this particular article. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's true. That's too big to just have it go right under the radar. Why this guy, Alex Morrison, which I kind of did a little bit of background check on him, I don't think he's real. I think he's AI. I think he's made up. I don't know what his deal is. I don't really trust this person, Alex Morrison, anymore, because let's go to the source. Let's look at Ripple. This is their official X or Twitter page, whatever you want to call it. And from what I can find, I don't see any announcement. Now, I went to Ripple's website. They didn't really have a news page for that. So, I went to the next best source, which is x.com. And if there's big news like that, I am sure that they are going to announce it someplace. So, it's not there. And so, going back to this article, and, I do have to give credit to the person who posted this. They said, please ignore the XRP post above. It was almost certainly fake news. I am usually more discerning. But a lot of people just read a headline like that and take it and be like, oh, yeah, this is what's happening. No, it's not. It's fake news. And, they just want to pump XRP, or there's, whatever agenda, but it is completely fake because no one's reporting that. Oh, yeah. And JP Morgan, they're not reporting either. So as we move on, iShares BTC ETF investors weather major price drop with zero flows. This is really good news because some people were not shaken out what's happened in the last 7 days or so. At the market opening on August 5th, traders were in for a shock to see Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund ETF, managed by iShares, or IBIT, was down by 14% after already experiencing a decline of 8% the previous week. However, as noted by senior Bloomberg ETF analyst Eric, there were zero inflows, denoting the traders did not budge from their positions, compared to the unwaveringness of the Rock of Gibraltar, and said the industry is lucky to have them. So right here, it shows there was just no movement. People were not scared, and it's great to have people that know what's going on and just are not scared by what crypto does all the time. So Morgan Stanley tells wealth advisors they can pitch Bitcoin ETF in a first for big banks. And when I was telling you about my college roommate, we talked months ago, actually, when I was down going to spring training in Arizona, and he said, I can't talk to people about Bitcoin. I can't talk to them about the ETFs because they have not been approved. And he said in his circle, what he is finding that, number one, he is going to recommend between 1% and 3% of someone's investment portfolio to be invested in Bitcoin ETF. And so Morgan Stanley on Friday told its army of financial advisors that it will soon allow them to offer Bitcoin ETF to some clients, a first among major Wall Street banks, CNBC has learned. The firm's 15,000 or so financial advisors can solicit eligible clients to purchase shares of the two exchange-traded Bitcoin funds starting August 7th. Which is today, according to people with knowledge on the policy. So we have 15,000 evangelists going out there. And as my college roommate said, he's like, I will look bad if I don't recommend someone invest in Bitcoin. Or Ethereum, if that's ever enabled for this group. They can only recommend the Bitcoin ETF right now. The Ethereum ETF still has to go under review by whatever board this is. So we have 15,000 people that will probably recommend adding Bitcoin to someone's portfolio. So now we are on to technology news. Proton VPN adds discrete icons to hide apps on Android devices. Proton VPN has announced a series of updates to its Windows and Android apps to help users combat censorship, circumvent blocks, and protect themselves from authoritarian governments due to using forbidden tools. Ooh, VPN is a forbidden tool. One of the standouts is the discrete icon, a new setting allowing users to disguise the Proton VPN app icon and make it appear as a weather, notes, or calculator calculator app. And this is weird. When I was reading through this, I'm like, oh, what's the big deal? I don't want to hide it from my husband or my son. That doesn't matter. But I live in the United States and I don't have people stopping me on the street because in countries governed by oppressive and authoritarian regimes where many VPN tools, including Proton VPN, are banned, random physical checks performed by law enforcement on people's devices could get them into trouble if a VPN app is found on their apps list. By masking the VPN client as a non-suspicious tool, Proton VPN allows users to safely carry their smartphone without fearing prosecution in places where digital freedom is actively suppressed. Wow. I'm glad I live where I live. It also reminds me, I don't know if I would visit one of these countries and have a forbidden app, if I would get in trouble as a visitor. I mean, I would hope I wouldn't, but that's good to know. If you are in a country, traveling to a country, you might want to think about putting a different icon just so you don't have to worry about getting hassled. So, Sitting Duck's DNS attack lets hackers hijack over 35,000 domains. Threat actors have hijacked more than 35,000 registered domains in so-called Sitting Ducks attack that now claiming a domain without having access to the owner's account at the DNS provider or register. Like, that's just crazy. Most of the time, if you're going to swap DNS or repoint your DNS to another server, you have to have access to the DNS provider or the registrar. But in sitting duck attacks, cybercriminals exploit configuration shortcomings at the register level. That's like if you go to GoDaddy and register your domain there, and insufficient ownership verification at DNS providers. So, if you have a DNS provider that's kind of a low level, this is where you might get into trouble. I use Cloudflare for hosting DNS and a lot of other things like that. Their security is really high. It's free. I think I have over like 25 domains there. Some of the people I work with, that type of thing. And it's free for me to host my DNS there. I would highly recommend anybody to use Cloudflare instead of their local DNS provider. But a researcher at a DNS-focused security vendor, Infoblox, and firmware and hardware projection company discovered that there are more than 1 million domains that can be hijacked every day via Sitting Ducks attack. Multiple Russian cybercriminal groups have been using this attack vector for years and leverage the hijacked domains in spam campaigns, scams, malware delivery, phishing, and data exfiltration. So just be aware of that. And if you're if you're an Authy user, Twilio kills off Authy for desktop, forcibly logs out all users. Twilio has finally kicked off Authy for desktop application, forcibly logging users out of the desktop application. In January, Twilio announced that the Authy desktop app for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux would reach the end of life on March 19th of this year and will ultimately be discontinued in August. Well, it's August now, so it was discontinued. While the desktop apps continued to work past March, when opened, they showed an alert that the program had reached end of life and that users would switch to a mobile version immediately. Well, if you didn't, unfortunately, for those who continue to use Authy for desktop, even after the warnings, they have found that their 2FA accounts are gone unless they had previously synced them with a mobile device. However, those who sync their desktop apps with the mobile version have discovered that some of their tokens did not correctly synchronize, making their associated accounts inaccessible. So if this has happened to you, it's a known bug, and I'm sorry to hear that. In June, threat actors found an unsecured Authy API that could be used to verify if a phone number was associated with a valid account. The threat actors fed millions of phone numbers in the API, allowing them to build a profile of 33 million phone numbers on Authy, which were then leaked on a hacking forum. So it continues. And here we have burglars are jamming Wi-Fi security cameras, and here's what you can do. This is out of LA. I think I've covered this before a while ago, and they're continuing to do this. The jammers are not legally available, or you cannot have them legally in the US. But if you have cameras, if you especially if you live in LA or frankly anywhere in California or New York, that if you are using a wireless camera, beware that they are using jammers so that they cannot be recorded. One way around this is you got to run a wire from where you need it to where you need it. So if you are in a high risk area, I would highly recommend you use wired cameras and not wireless cameras. And this is yet another example of how easily you can bypass the Mac app review team. These scam apps just copied the Dropbox icon, and one of them prevents the users from quitting the application without buying a subscription. So I'll kind of show you what they have. Like documents for Dropbox. Wanna Manafee, we know this is bogus. And I'll show you, you can get around this if you're smart. And then we have another one, docs for Dropbox, HHH Technologies LLC. These are all bogus. And this one just shows you that this one was downloaded. They wanted to install it. They get to this point and they try to quit. So quit, yeah, they try it multiple times. They try to quit again and it just won't quit. And so it forces you to make the purchase. If you don't make the purchase, you can't quit the app. So you may have to force quit the app, or you may have to restart your computer. But just know that's out there. So if I want something for Dropbox, I'm going to go directly to Dropbox.com and I'm going to look for something that says, oh, here, get app. Oh, we're going to get the mobile app. So I click on the mobile app and here we go. And I can visit the app store and looky there, Dropbox, files and photo storage. It's by Dropbox Inc. That's the right one. That's all I have for you today, everybody. Back to you, Jay.